On behalf of all of us here with the Calgary Flames, my name is Beasley saying so long. Enjoy your evening. Right now, down to Brendan Parker and Cory Sarich for tonight's Flames TV Live post-game show, presented by Original 16.
Original 16 gives you the chance to win one of 3 Calgary Flames fan experiences. Details in the new limited edition 15 packs of Canadian Pale Ale. Original 16, official beer sponsor of the Calgary Flames. Must be of legal drinking age, no purchase necessary.
Well, welcome inside the Flames post-game live. It's brought to you by Original 16, celebrating things done well here on the Flames TV desk. And for the Avalanche, celebrating a win here tonight as they win at 4-1 the final. Calgary Flames return home for the end of their pre-All-Star break. 4 straight games on home ice. It starts tonight against the defending champs, and they get the best of them as we welcome in Cory Sarich, Brendan Parker alongside, and a hockey game that, for all intents and purposes, at least the scoreline, determined in the early part of this hockey game, the first period. How did you see the difference in this one here tonight?
Yeah, it was over pretty much at the end of the first period, unfortunately. Flames had a good push in the last 2 periods, but it wasn't enough. And I just really didn't like the first 3 or 4 shifts from the Calgary Flames. They were in their own end. They looked unorganized, and all of a sudden the Avs were up 4 or 5 shots to almost nothing with it, almost zero pushback or response from the Calgary Flames, and that is just a little bit discerning when you see one team come out like that. And Flames tried to get organized in that first period, but ultimately it was Rantanen, MacKinnon, those guys were firing on all cylinders, and you know what? It was a missed opportunity.
Well, and we'll take a look at the goals here in a moment. Obviously, hear from head coach Daryl Sutter as well as players inside the locker room in just a moment. But that first goal, which was an absolute rocket by Mikko Rantanen, and then a couple of odd man rushes and just sort of things. You talk about momentum, and that's a tough team that once they get skating and get some open ice like that, they can be hard to handle. Yeah,
and you can't make mistakes against this team, or if they're going to be mistakes, I mean, we call it the game of mistakes. They've got to be little, and they have to be fairly insignificant. You make big mistakes. There was a lost battle on one of the goals that then led to missed coverage. Right. You let Nathan MacKinnon off of a draw escape and race up ice. We're going to see some of these highlights. Yeah. Those are just too blatant, and against a high-powered team like the Avs, in a spot that the Flames are in when they're scrapping and clawing for every point right now, it's I just felt that they need to be a little bit more prepared tonight.
Well, let's as we talk about them, we may as well show them to you, and we'll obviously dive into more of this game as it rolls along here on the post-game show. But here's how it started, and we talk about this rocket, and it is some kind of shot, kind of put on a tee nicely from JT Compher, and how about the release there by Mikko Rantanen for his 30th of the season?
Yeah, and right off the face-off, we don't get to see it early, but Weegar has a chance to win the battle with Rantanen. He strips him of the puck. Puck gets moved around over to this guy, and no goaltender's making that save.
Yeah, no question. That was placed about as perfect as a shot can be. And then here's the explosiveness of Nathan MacKinnon coming off a 4-point effort on Monday night against Detroit, and then sets up Artturi Lehkonen on the 2-on-1.
And it's a little bit of a broken play off of the faceoff, but this is details to the game. It's knowing your personnel. Who's on the ice? Oh, it's number 29. It's Nathan MacKinnon. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do everything in my power not to let this guy escape. So again, mistake leads to a goal.
Well, and they take a look at that. You saw the official calling it a good goal. Obviously, the puck goes in, it slides under the net, and you can kind of see the net pop up, not off its moorings, but up on its moorings, came out the side. And then here's the 3-0 goal, and it's Lehkonen again. This one a power play marker. Well, probably a fortunate bounce here too. Yeah,
you can't fault the goaltender on this one. It's a little unlucky for everybody. You can't really say that there are any mistakes made on this goal. It's just an unfortunate bounce.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And obviously that scoreline stays the same. No scoring in the second period. So here we are in the third, and Flames get their second power play of the game. And it was a pretty efficient one, finished off with a great shot here by Toffoli, but some layers of traffic on this shot from Toffoli.
They did get some chances against the Avs tonight, and they had a couple unlucky breaks in the second period. They hit a post, and they finally snuck one in here. And like I said, I thought that the Calgary Flames did a nice job of taking over play in the second period, keeping it going in the third period, but unfortunately it just didn't end up in any more goals for the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at some of those chances, Blake Coleman specifically, and here's the last goal, which they end up awarding to Mikko Rantanen, so that's his second of the night. He finishes with 31 goals on the season after he leaves here the Scotiabank Saddledome. So MacKinnon with 2, Rantanen with 2. The difference in this hockey game, 4-1 the final, and Tyler Toffoli's 16th of the season account for the Calgary Flames scoring. And just quickly, we'll hear from head coach Daryl Sutter here in just a moment. But, we talk about that road trip and, 5 games over 10 days. It's a long trip. Go through the Central Division, some tough teams. What about that turnaround? Obviously trying to reset, and you look at the last 3 Stanley Cup champions, Tampa coming up here on Saturday. But just try to wrap your head around that on home ice and a couple of tough opponents here.
Yeah, it's not easy. Anytime you return home, things change off the road. It can be used as an excuse. I would say if it was a lesser team, there's that trap game, but there should be no trap game here today. You know who you're playing. You know the opponent that's across from you, and you better be prepared. And I just don't think the Calgary Flames had what it took in that first period to come out. They needed to dictate play. They needed to take it to the Avs, and they just kind of sat, waited, and didn't go their way.
All right, let's hear what the head coach thought. Head coach Daryl Sutter is at the podium now. Let's listen in on his post-game reaction following the 4-1 loss here tonight to Colorado.
Coach, what was the problem in the first period?
Tough, beat the champions twice in 1 year. Big difference. Wasn't the first period. It was pretty throughout the game, I'd say.
Was the team not ready in your eyes?
Yeah, I think we were as ready as we could be. They're the champions, so they had 13 guys in the lineup tonight that won the Stanley Cup last year. We had 1. Big difference. They know how to. We're still very much in the show me stage.
What did they do that was so effective in the first period?
Nothing in particular. I mean, the first goal is that we win the face-off, and we passed the puck to him twice. We won the face-off, so we should have got both assists on the goal. And then the second goal is down in their zone. We lose the face-off. They get a 2-on-1 out of it. And then the third one's the power play goal, right? That bounce goal, I think, wasn't it? So pretty difference in. It's like a different class, that's for sure.
Do you like how your team responded in the next 40 minutes of the game?
No, I didn't. The greatest coach in the history of the game told me once, sometimes it's better to get beat 9-1.
Is that different class you mentioned? Is that a wake-up call for your group? Or?
No, I don't think so. I think we know. I think I got a pretty good idea where our team's at, and we're in the middle of the pack, and we're not in their class. I said it this morning, if you were listening, Wes, about their team, and that's what it is. It's a big difference.
Were you happy with the overall effort level and compete and battle tonight, or?
Sure. If you think it was there, then you just say that.
When a game goes like this, does this give you further?
It's not easy to come home from a long trip, right? You get the champions coming in and you're coming back. It's not easy, right? So you can't spot a team like that. 2 goals. Those are goals like when 5 guys are lined up there and 5 guys are lined up there and they score off, right? That's just like me starting at the light and going first. So you can't spot teams of that caliber, right?
Were there a few people, their efforts tonight, that maybe they might be considered to be taken out of the lineup?
Don't have a 30-man roster and you have a salary cap. So if you want to, you guys did this 3 years or 2 years ago when I came here. You guys were all expectations and who should play with who and all that, Eric, and you know that as well as I do, and who's not producing and who is and who's popular and all that. You know what? I've been around long enough to understand that it's a long season and it's hard to make the playoffs. They said it last year. It's very hard to make the playoffs. So there's got to be some structure in our game, and I won't let anything deter me from that.
Did you consider taking Markstrom out?
Tonight? No. Not a chance. I mean, our goalies after 20 games, our goalies were at a 15 game and a 5 game start thing, and since then we've been pretty even. So if you look at it, it's pretty even, and their save percentages are almost identical, and their goals. Actually, Markstrom has a better goals against since the 20th game than Vladar does. So I'm not going to based on that. I'm not going to take him out tonight to try and give the team a spark, that's for sure. Okay.
All right, there is head coach Daryl Sutter and talking about a number of things, but obviously the opposition, a clear part of his post-game reaction, called it a different class. What do you make of, sort of the mindset when you know that you're, as he talked about this morning, you're playing the Stanley Cup champs who are desperate. They talked this morning about urgency. They know the position they're in. It's one that they're necessarily familiar with over the last couple of years in terms of being on the outside looking in, and you have to kind of be prepared for that type of hunger on the other side here tonight.
Yeah, and I'll agree with Daryl. There is a different class system in the NHL. I've been in all tiers. I've been on a bottom feeder. I've been in the middle where you're a competitive team, but you can't quite take that step. And then I've fortunately, but very rarely, been on a team where you feel like you're going to win every single night.
Right.
But I always found when I was in the middle tier that your preparation, especially if you're going to play someone in the upper tier, well, it's got to be spot on if we're going to take them down tonight. And it's got to be right from the start. And again, you almost have to try to play a perfect game. I don't want to go and make it sound like it's that crazy, but you can't be lazy. You have to have more desperation, more urgency. And again, I just didn't see that in the first period tonight. So for me, that's the problem. Again, maybe I'm just simplifying it too much, but you're playing a great team. Well, you better come out with your best effort. You better be bumping, banging, skating, whatever it is that makes you successful. And I just don't think we saw that early in this game.
The question was asked about building and kind of, trying to change the tide a little bit the final 40 minutes, and you kind of discussed it too. He didn't really acknowledge that part of it. I think it was more of the class thing that he spoke on. But, maybe just for the argument's sake, let's go over that second period and moving forward. Before we have Tyler Toffoli here coming up soon, but Blake Coleman in that line, it did seem like, when, as you said, you kind of calm the waters a little bit. That push in the middle part of the second into the third kind of came from, a number of sources, but that one in particular. Yeah,
they did a better job in their own end getting out because there was just a little bit more attention to detail. And then when they got the puck out, they put pucks in places where they could get it back, where they could get their forecheck going. And then lines like Coleman, Backlund, Mangiapane, they started to get a few chances. They didn't convert, but they started to take the momentum over, and I thought they did a pretty nice job of holding it for 2 periods. But again, you got to give the Colorado Avalanche, with 7 defensemen in, their best defenseman out, they had a pretty quiet night in their end. They didn't allow a lot, and that's kudos to their defensemen who, and their team overall. They were pretty solid in their own end.
Yeah. All right, let's go back and hear some more post-game reaction. We'll go inside the Calgary Flames locker room for the first time. Here is Tyler Toffoli tonight.
Guys, skating, passing, everything, and we were trying to find our way back into the game, but they're the defending champions for a reason.
This is one of those games that guys say is pretty easy to get up for. What do you attribute the poor start to?
Just not ready to play against a really good hockey team. That's what it comes down to.
Daryl just said a minute ago that he kind of said, we're just not in their class right now. You've been on that championship side of things. What does it take in this room to become a part of that class?
Yeah, I think we've kind of said it throughout times in the season. We got to find a way to put 60 minutes together and come together as a group. And it almost feels like every time we kind of get on a roll, we do something like this and try and find our game back.
Is it worrisome at this stage that we're talking about 60 minutes? Like we're long stretch into the season.
I mean, it's a lot of you guys, bringing it up, and then we're trying to find our way to just come together and win games. I mean, not every game is going to be pretty. Not every game is going to be 60 minutes of the best hockey you've ever seen. There's going to be ups and downs, and I think we got to be able to find a way to deal with our emotions better and be ready for starts, score big goals at the right time, and put teams away.
Can you take anything from a night like this?
I mean, yeah, you have to. You have to realize that they're a team that's 3-4 points behind us, and clearly they played a lot better than us tonight. So we got to figure our stuff out.
Is the effort and compete level where it needs to be right now?
Obviously, you guys saw the start. It wasn't there, and throughout the second and third, there were times where we had some momentum, had some opportunities, and couldn't find a way to score a goal. And and then it was kind of just, you know, up and down.
Okay, thanks.
All right, there's some post-game thoughts from Tyler Toffoli as we kind of take a look at the night of number 29, Nathan MacKinnon. Obviously leads to a couple of Arturi Lehkonen goals here, but just flying kind of up and down the ice here tonight, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was ready to go, and I think it's in his last 9 games, he's got 15 points. This is a guy that's on a little bit of a tear right now, and he's missed a few games. He knows his team's position, and we saw how fiery he can be and how passionate he is about this game and winning. And he's going to try to put this team on his shoulders and get them to the playoffs. And they've got some work to do. And we've seen this team now score a lot of goals in the last 3 games in a row.
Yeah, and that's without Cale Makar tonight, who was, of course, listed as day-to-day this morning by head coach Jared Bednar. And you, by the way, MacKinnon, guy that you played with right at the start of his career, and you saw a little bit of that in terms of that competitiveness, and a guy that, you know, wouldn't be denied as his career would roll on.
Yeah, he was a pretty special player, and you knew right away when he joined our team back in 2013, 2014 that the sky was the limit for this kid. I mean, I'd never seen speed like it before.
Yeah.
In person on the ice, and I told you I paid the price in practice many a time.
And by example.
Competitive fire.
Yeah.
He had a lot of learning to do, just situational play, when to move the puck, when to shoot the puck, different things like that, but just natural instinct and a great finish to begin with. And he's gotten so much stronger. He's, you know, he turned into a man in a hurry.
Sure.
And we saw what he could do last year. He led that team all the way to the very end.
Yeah, and you know, as you said, 18-year-old kid at that time, right? So
yeah, it's hard to believe he's played 9 years in the league and he's only 27 years old, or 10 years in the league, and blows my mind that I'm going to be watching him for the next 15 years, potentially.
From here.
From here.
Let's go back inside the Flames locker room. Elias Lindholm standing by now.
Too simple for us to look at the first period as the difference, or was there more there that, I don't know if it was about preparation, the start, or just the ability to kind of find it throughout?
No, I think obviously when you come out like that in the first against the champs, it's not going to work very well. Can't expect to win when you play like that. So obviously that first period set the whole game up.
What do you attribute that start to tonight?
I don't know, like right away they, you know, even though shots were pretty tight, it was, you know, they had all the chances and were flat and slow and so on. So, you know, like I said, it's when you play like that in the first against the champs, it's not going to work very well.
You've talked in the past about, you know, trying to string together that 60 minutes, and I don't know if you found it yet, but if not, is that troubling?
Yeah, we played 46 games now, and you know, still looking for a you know, really good game. Yeah, it's concerning.
Can any of the flatness from tonight be attributed to the tired legs from playing a road trip and then coming back, and first game back here is against the reigning champs?
I don't know. I don't want to look at any excuses.
Daryl said tonight that the Avalanche are in a different class than you guys are. Do you feel like that's a fair assessment?
In the first, yeah.
And what about overall?
No, after that, I thought it was pretty tight.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Original 16, a great way to celebrate things done well.
Back to wrap. Flames post-game live brought to you by Original 16 as we put a bow on a 4-1 loss to the Colorado Avalanche here tonight. Kicks off a 4-game homestand, and you got another former Cup champs coming into town, Tampa Bay Lightning, an afternoon game on Saturday, but maybe some time to kind of get a practice in here in between. And what you make of everything we've talked about here tonight, but just maybe what you're hearing from players and sort of, you know, their take on it and what has to be better, or the areas that have to improve by Saturday.
Well, when we hear the message tonight, they obviously didn't like their start. But I just think overall there needs to be a little more jam in their whole game. It'll be nice for them to get a practice in. That'll be a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're here at home, settle back in.
Yeah. Quick reset.
It's it's not going to be an easy task come Saturday, and that game's coming up quick,
Yeah.
right? It's a 1 o'clock start that day, and again, that team's starting to make some waves as well. They were maybe a little off to a little bit of a slow start this year, Tampa, and you got Kucherov leading the way for those guys. Stamkos got his 500th tonight, so
That's right.
it's going to be hands full again.
Hands full, yeah. Well, I always say it's nice, though, if they get that milestone out of the way, you don't have to worry about being the victim of it. So he scores it 5 minutes into the game here tonight in Vancouver, goal 500. I think I wrote it down, 47th player in NHL history to reach 500 goals. So a nice little milestone for Steven Stamkos. That's
Very, very impressive.
Yeah.
And now hopefully he takes a breather,
Yeah,
at least
just-
takes one night off.
Hopefully he got them all out of his way there in Vancouver,
Perfect.
and then the rest of that road trip you don't have to hear from him. That does it for us here tonight, though. We'll put a wrap on this 4-1 loss tonight to the Colorado Avalanche. Good news for the Calgary Flames is they've got 3 more here on home ice, 4 overall before the All-Star break hits, as it is Hockey Talks night here, or was Hockey Talks night at the Scotiabank Saddledome. As the Flames fall to the Avs 4-1, and again, there it is. The Lightning with the early start time on Saturday, a little family-friendly affair at 1 p.m. here at the Scotiabank Saddledome. As for us, that'll do it tonight. Thanks for watching Flames Postgame Live, brought to you by Original 16. We will see you on Saturday afternoon back here at the Dome.